Future Commerce is brought to you by Octane AI. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to leverage more customer data and increase your revenue at your brand? The answer should be yes and yes. And with Octane AI, every Shopify and Shopify Plus merchant can do just that. Learn about your customers and collect buyer profile data with engaging quizzes and create personalized campaigns and flows using Facebook Messenger and SMS. Octane AI has plans for any sized business, and Future Commerce listeners get 10% off your first 6 months. So go sign up right now at octaneai.com/future. That's octaneai.com/future. Future Commerce is brought to you by ShipBob. Put your logistics on autopilot. Go to shipbob.com/futurecommerce and get started today with $500 in free shipping credits. Future Commerce is brought to you by Blue Shift. 77% of consumers make brand choices based on personalized experiences. Here's my question: are they choosing you? Well, Blue Shift allows e-commerce companies to move from batch and blast and one-size-fits-all experiences to something much more custom. You can find out more today about what Blue Shift does for your brand at blueshift.com/futurecommerce. That's blueshift.com/futurecommerce. Hello and welcome to Future Commerce, the podcast about cutting edge and next generation commerce. I'm Philip.
And I'm Brian. And today we have a Seattle guest, Kevin Rutherford, CEO at Nuun Energy. Welcome to Future Commerce.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
We're happy to have you.
We haven't had someone with a legitimate podcast mic in the longest time. And not only that, the street cred you're bringing to this podcast is, I guess we should offer you a congratulations on a successful exit. You were just acquired by Nestlé Health Science. Congratulations.
Oh, gosh. Thank you. Yeah, it's a big milestone. Keynote, it's a milestone, not a finish line.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved in Nuun? What's your background? Like, tell us all about this, what you've got going on.
For sure. Well, I guess I should start with say this is every Canadian wants you to know they're Canadian. So I am that. So we put the Canada flag on our backpack, right? As a lot of people have seen over time. Two, any plant-based or vegan person wants you to know they're that. I'm also that. And then every CrossFitter wants you to know they're a CrossFitter, which I'm not strong enough to be that. So there's a little about me if that gives you any context. It's been quite the journey. I started at Nuun. It'll be 8 years this fall. And gosh, what a journey it's been. My career has really been focused on marketing, through CPG companies like SC Johnson, a family company, Miller Brewing Company. I like to say my first all natural product company. Kashi, if you're familiar with that one, it's, we dream of a world where everyone embraces natural health, which was the mission statement, and life-changing. I never looked at business the same way since. That took me over to become CEO for the first time, taking over for a founder for the Caldrea company, which is known as Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day. And that was me post-exit, by the way. So SC Johnson, a family company, acquired them. And they brought me back. So I must have done something right there. And so I did that for a few years. And then here I am at Nuun. And this is, oh my gosh, what a journey. This coming up on 8 years has just been amazing. I've never, ever experienced a magnetic energy like I've experienced with the culture of the team at Nuun. Never. It's unlike anything ever I've experienced. And I think that is the key to success of what happened.
That's incredible.
It takes an exceptional team to build the sort of market momentum that you've had in creating a brand new category out of nothing. And that is a thing that when you look at the incumbents, they're all ready to drink. And ready to drink incumbents in the CPG space. Beverage is, I think for many years, people would say was impenetrable. And shocker, it turns out with all of this recent investment in CPG beverage, maybe that's not so true as it once was. Bundling and unbundling. It sounds like the big CPGs are waking up to the opportunity here. Why Nuun and why now? And how did this team create a product that was, so prolific that it sparked an entire category of copycats and challengers?
Whoa, that's a lot. There's a lot packed in there. So let's dissect.
Brian taught me how to ask a 25 slide question. Sorry.
That was a Brian question.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love it. So it's worth noting the Nuun started 16 and a half years ago. And the founder, who's no longer involved in the business, but the vision back then actually, and some of the DNA like that was there it still exists within the brand today. And it was really focused on, at the time, endurance athletes. In fact, not just endurance athletes. This product, this company was focused on Ironman athletes. It was focused on adventure racers where people are basically doing orienteering and everything you can imagine for like 3, 4, 5 days straight. That's what Nuun was developed for. How do we give you the hydration to help power you through, right? Where it's portable, convenient for these athletes because you're going for such a long time. So you need it, both efficacy for your body, but also this portability and convenience. All of that actually still exists today. And one other thing I would say is the concept of it back then from a category perspective probably was still getting formulated. But there was this is the game changer, I think, that's happening today as well, is the category is actually more planet friendly than traditional beverages. So meaning traditional beverages, right? So RTD, ready to drink, is a massive, massive category. And it's not really that conducive when you think about use of energy resources in order to get it from manufacturer, if you will, to the consumer. You're basically shipping around water because it's pre-mixed. And so what we want to do, and where we've kind of evolved, is we said, listen, we want to have a live clean philosophy, clean product, clean planet. And then we've led with something called clean sport. It's kind of even broadened since then because it's what's leveling the playing field. I can get into it if you want, but that one's led to more around clean movement, basically democratizing movement. Because our mission is all about empowering the world to move more. Because we think if you move more, right? So society, so we started with the athletes, we go to everyone. If you just move more, then we'll have a healthier society because we'll basically eradicate or drastically reduce the chronic preventable diseases that happen. What's one way to do that? Hydration. You've got to do that. And so hydration is a key catalyst for that. And 75% of the population is chronically dehydrated, including athletes. So there was a lot of opportunity there. I will say this, and I'll just make a quick soundbite, and then please lead me wherever you want me to go on this one. Something happened in 2020 that made this trajectory go to a whole different level. And that's when the pandemic happened, people paused and thought about a few things differently. And this is the accelerant that kind of took off. It was already doing great and we were redefining it, but it was strong and steady as opposed to whoosh, rocket ship. And what happened was consumers were starting to think about preventative health. They were thinking about, how do I strengthen my immune system? What's the role of hydration within there? Oh gosh, I'm not on the go anymore. So is there another way, a better way to do it? So let's just drop a Nuun tablet in my water, right? To get there, as opposed to I need a ready to drink every time. So all of a sudden, these live clean philosophy and value pillars that we have became even more relevant to more people than ever before. And that's what's happening. And that's not going to go backwards. That's the good news, right? So this accelerant has kind of got this adoption. Now it's retention to keep educating and then keep pressing forward. And that's what we're finding right now as the country starts to open up more and more, is nothing slowing down. Does that help?
That's incredible. Yeah. I think there's so many things to unpack from what you just said. First of all, I just love the sort of ethos around the brand, and what you've built is it's everything that we talk about on the show. and have for many years about what it means to actually connect with customers, to do things in a way that actually benefits them, and to remain true to who they are and a mission. And so I think that there's just, first of all, I commend you for what you've been able to accomplish. The second thing this gets me excited about is sort of the future of this industry. I believe you're absolutely right. We're not going back. The healthy habits that have started to be established, or the thought processes that have been put in motion, are potentially just getting started. And so, as we look ahead to sort of what's next for beverage, and really not just for beverage, but for health, for fitness, and we look at some of the other movements that are happening in this industry, like the rise of Peloton and its copycats or competitors. It's
we can say
peers.
copycats. That's fine. You're allowed to say that.
And we look at the sort of, I think the rise in outdoor activity in general is a huge uplift for brands like REI and for outdoor brands. What does this mean for like? I mean, I don't want to go too big here, but for the way that people think about their purchasing, what in consumers' minds, in moving forward, is going to be markers of a product that they want to purchase, as it relates to their enjoyment, their leisure, their everyday, their work, like their health.
There's so much has changed. To your point, I love the topic that correlates with us, an adjacency of connected fitness, i.e. Peloton, as you mentioned. Think about Peloton and all the connected fitness world. Mirror is another great one, right? And they basically decentralized the whole system, right? They've changed the whole thing. You don't need to go to a gym. You can just do this at home. In fact, think about this. This actually gets me so excited about what's happening right now in health, wellness, and fitness due to digital and connectedness. Is all of a sudden now the model isn't about cradle to grave or sign up and hope you don't show up because we don't have enough room for you anyway for a gym membership, right? Now it really is about the value is for every new member, it adds value to the community and to themselves because it's learning about you. And that is like, I can't stop thinking about that, quite honestly. We haven't tapped into that at Nuun as well as I think we could. I look at that future looking going, that's where we need to figure out of how can we be part of that solution. And how do we get there? There are some really interesting things happening when you think of connected fitness. We talked about, how about connected health? And I'll lean a little bit more on the athlete side, but look at a couple of companies out there. Super Sapiens is one, and another competitor of theirs is, I think, called Levels, right? Where they're measuring glucose, right, for you every day. And then what are the data points that helps you take control of your health? That's crazy exciting. I bring that up because that's going to reinforce when you asked about purchase behavior and digital and how that's integrated into our life, which has already happened, but it's going to keep getting more integrated. But it's exciting. Like, I think some people get freaked out by it going, oh my gosh, someone's watching over me. No, you literally can have more control of your health because you've got the information at your fingertips. It's so exciting. And so that's what I think is going to just reinforce the purchase behavior. And I think purchase behavior traditionally has been in bricks and mortar stores. By the way, I don't think bricks and mortar stores are going away. We're seeing foot traffic come back, slowly, but it's coming back. And I think people will want to go for an experience and education there. Get the idea of shopping online, pick up in store, or just getting it delivered straight to your home. It just won't go away. It's just easier than ever before. The friction point has been removed. And why would we want to add a lot of friction back to our life on that one? And so we're all in on both. We really do have truly an omni-channel approach, which basically means online and in store. Sometimes I find in the industry when you say omni, everyone just assumes that's digital. I'm like, No, actually, it means you're meeting the consumer where they are. And so it's in store and online.
The whole idea is so exciting to me because you're actually touching on a trend that I didn't think we would actually go here, of like leveraging body monitoring to optimize purchasing behavior that could be personalized for you. And that's a trend that we've been following for, well, really since the beginning of future commerce. What I hear you saying is that we're starting to actually have the tool set to capture new data points so that we can actually optimize for our personal bodies. Is that accurate?
No, exactly. And so the tool, like, right, I'm not a technology expert, so I'll preface by just saying that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go way out of my comfort zone and start talking about that. But what I would say is that when you think about technology and the advancements that we've had with our phone, our smartphone, incredible, right? I think what we're also realizing, though, is there is some limitations with that. And it's sometimes it's so powerful it actually might become an issue for people. And so now you've got wearable technology. I'm literally wearing a Whoop right now on my wrist as an example. Because I'm obsessed with trying to understand sleep performance. How did I sleep last night? What was the quality of my sleep? But yeah, you get this information. So wearable technology in different ways, whether it's a ring or on your wrist or whatever that might be, or a patch, and then getting the data and then making it really easy to understand, to say, so what now? Honestly, that's what we do in business, right? When we go and assess the business and you're looking in the rearview mirror, you go, okay, that's what I learned. Now, so what now? What's the indicated action moving forward? And we're teaching, as an industry, teaching people to understand that and take action. Again, that is really, really exciting when you think about preventative health to hopefully eliminate or drastically reduce a lot of chronic diseases that are out there. That's crazy exciting. Who saw this coming?
It is
amazing.
That's kind of the incredible thing about this opportune time of how you can leverage now a larger platform with a partnership with a company at the scale of Nestlé Health Science that can help you kind of hit some of those loftier goals, or you can bring some of that ethos to other now sister brands within the portfolio. In full disclosure, I work alongside one of those sister brands in a consulting capacity, and so I work with Nestlé Health Science to some degree and benefit from that. So this is great for me. I'm so excited about this. But aside from that, when I think about, okay, this is it's like perfect timing around pandemic, renewed commitment to personal fitness, more connectedness than ever. I think about the things that brought you over a 16-year journey, and it's a thing that I tell one of those Nestlé Health Science sister brands, Garden of Life, all the time, which is you may not think of yourself as direct-to-consumer from like the modern incantation of whatever that means. It's not necessarily digitally native. It's that you're meeting customers where you are. For many years, I would walk into a Whole Foods, and Garden of Life has sales reps on the floor demoing product and answering questions and spending time with customers. And that is a direct-to-consumer relationship. You happen to be in a place of retail, but you're there on the floor with the customer and you have a one-to-one interaction with them. The other brand that I have seen for a decade that does that is Nuun. And there's very few others. And I think that you're sort of a product of the time in which the company, gained broad market traction. Is that's it was always about that interaction and that close interaction and the incredible passion that small communities had formed around Nuun and the promise of the products of the brand. But none of that is possible if you don't have a stellar product. So I'd love to kind of talk a little bit how product innovation powers a lot of this stuff, right? Because no one just wants to rebuy the same thing over and over if it's a crappy product. And I'd love to give you an opportunity to react to that because I have more that I'd love to ask. But do you think that that's Is that true? Is it sort of, do you see that holds true as being sort of a product of your time, and really the power here is the evolution to bring the brand forward into this current decade, and is that part of like what you're hoping to achieve with this acquisition?
Absolutely. If I could do it in one word, it would be absolutely. And by the way, I almost was thinking, Philip, as you were talking, when did you get our strategic plan? It was talking about how different communities have built, and in store, and we triangulate around the consumer of in store, on screen, in person. The in person kind of went away over the last year and a half, but that will come back. That will come back. So when it comes to innovation and being a key catalyst to us getting to this place and then where we're going is absolutely a fundamental growth pillar for us. Here's how we approach it. If I could simplify it down to this question that we ask ourselves, and if you think about it, we just think about how Nuun started. If you had this question in mind, if we had to start all over again in the category that you're addressing, right? How would we do it? And so when you look at it that way, you go, well, we'll use a traditional sports drink that we've been competing against that's ready to drink over many years, that is so big that everyone knows what I'm talking about with a lightning bolt. So think about this though, right? Is surely if we had to start all over again, right, we wouldn't actually create our business model solely or almost predominantly on this ready to drink of shipping around water everywhere when you think about a clean planet. Surely we wouldn't create a product that had artificial dyes and artificial ingredients within there, right, in order to get the taste or whatever it is you're looking for. Surely we wouldn't put excess sugars in there that actually becomes less of a hydration product, which I can talk about the science on that if you want, as opposed to a fuel product. There's a reason why you want to separate your hydration from your fuel. And so there was all these different things when you look at it. And so when Nuun launched, it was addressing a lot of those. It's also worth noting we've changed and evolved over time as well. So internally, when we think of our product, we have the original product, which we call 1.0, and internally at Nuun. And then we went to an all-natural product, and I'll explain that, about 6 years ago. And that was 2.0. And then we went to 3.0, which is now where we've been for the last couple of years. The difference was this. So when it first launched, it was all about efficacy, performance, and needed to taste good and all that great stuff, right? And so that product was launched and did really well. I came in and I actually worked with the team and said, listen, here's what we need to do as a team. Let's think about this of what's the change we're trying to make in the world? Like, let's back up for a minute. Because remember, it's a team obsessed with athletes at the time and all about endurance athletes. And so I was trying to broaden the horizon to say, hey, if it's by athletes for everyone, what would that mean? Like, what translates here? And so when we went through this process, we came up with this mission statement, or why, which correlates again to the innovation of, listen, if we're a hydration that needs to empower the world to move more, what are some values and nutritional philosophy that we need to do that? I kind of had a predetermined thing that I wanted to do, quite honestly, when we got to 2.0, but I wanted to take the team through the journey so everyone buys into this together. I didn't know what the end result would be, but I knew where we ultimately wanted to get to. And so here's what we did, is we came up with this live clean philosophy and said, live clean. Clean product, clean planet, clean sport. Okay, let's dive into clean product. Clean product means we need to have every ingredient has a purpose. And we went through all these different things. And then it goes, okay, now my question for you, team, what's inconsistent with that? What would we change in our current product? Remember, if we had to start all over again, now we're doing it again to ourselves. We go, oh, okay, well, I guess we changed the sweetener that we're using to go to something that's natural. We'd get rid of the preservative to find another way to be shelf stable as opposed to having an ingredient in there. Oh, we'd get rid of this lubricant and find a natural lubricant, like all these things. Worth noting, here's the thing, change is hard. And I am going to take you a little bit back in time. This was really hard to get people to buy in, because once you've got something in place and you get used to it, you're really afraid of change because you're going to ruin it, is what people think. And so the story goes, the truth be told, when we talk to our partners outside, contract manufacturer to build this, They told us it was impossible of what we wanted to do. I'm not kidding you. Someone in the industry said, what are you doing? This is crazy. Like, you can't go down there. We tried. It was a distant competitor to us, but I knew them in the industry. And so internally, there was like, oh, okay, trepidation, but no one's really saying anything until we got it figured out. Then it was different. Here's the thing. It was still a tablet. Everything to the consumer mostly was the same, mostly in form. But the positive was it was cleaner ingredients. The downside was we actually arguably went a little bit down in taste in terms of if you went blind label. And the dissolve time went up a little bit. And it was like, oh boy. So what do you do? Do you go? Or do you keep tinkering with this and working with it? We went, let's go. And we launched 2.0. And away we went. So I do want to share this one little story with you, because what ended up happening is it's now in market, and now we're getting some feedback. What did you do to my Nuun? What's going on? Of the raving fan base. By the way, we brought in a whole new set of consumers, i.e. think the natural channel shopper that was like, I love this product, because they didn't know it before. It wasn't there. So all of a sudden you've introduced yourself to a new consumer. And now how do you bring your raving fans along? And so you help them understand the philosophy of why we changed and why we've evolved is probably the better way of putting it, to improve. And I remember this call, this moment. So if Jeff Dean, our head of operations and R&D, is listening at this point, he'll chuckle at this. And I was on the phone with him and I said, Jeff, we need to get 3.0 going. He goes, Kevin, we just literally hit the market. I go, I know. We need to get the taste improved. We need to get the dissolve time down. We need to get now a better sourcing of ingredients. Now we're all natural. Now how do we get cleaner ingredients, i.e. non-GMO project certified is where we went. I think those were the big three, taste, dissolve time, and sourcing of ingredients. And then Jeff's like, you got to pick one. We can't do all, what one do you want? And I said, yes. And so away they went, and they totally achieved it. Honestly, I think he was right, prioritize it. Little did we know, we actually achieved all of it. It's a faster dissolve time. It actually had statistically significant wins on taste across the board. We tested it. It's such an amazing story. But my point here is innovation is renovation. It's innovation for new need states, which is, we've launched our Nuun Energy product roughly a month ago. And then we're looking at new frontiers of where could we go next. And so there's kind of three pillars to that.
Hey, Philip here to tell you about our newest sponsor, Octane AI. If you are on Shopify or Shopify Plus, and who isn't, am I right? Then you need what Octane AI has to offer. I am a huge fan of guided selling, and Octane AI has tools that allow you to get to know your customers on a deeper level and collect more buyer profile data. And what does that mean? Well, it means that you can use things like shop quizzes, Facebook Messenger, SMS, and opt-in tools to allow you to engage your customer more personally, so you can get on their level. More personalized campaigns and flows across all channel means more ROI. And that ROI that is driven from Octane AI is usable in other platforms with their integrations to other tools you're already using. Brands have already seen incredible results, up to 16x increase in email signups and a 28% increase in AOV. That's average order value, money in your pocket. What are you waiting for? Octane AI has plans for any sized business, and Future Commerce listeners get 10% off the first 6 months when you sign up. So why don't you sign up today? Go to octaneai.com/future. Once again, that's octaneai.com/future, and tell them Philip sent you. Hey, I just want to jump in here and tell you about our new partner, ShipBob. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to grow your e-commerce business by 1,200%? Well, of course you do. But before you tell me that that's impossible, let me tell you about ShipBob. They are a premium 3PL that offers a global fulfillment network, best-in-class technology, and reliable customer support. And here's a real-life merchant story. When Andrea Lisbona, the founder and CEO of the hand sanitizer brand Touchland, partnered with ShipBob, she was amazed by how fast and seamless ShipBob's pick, pack, and ship process really is, even as her business grew 1,200% in a matter of weeks. So outsource fulfillment to ShipBob and watch your business grow in a scalable way. Go to shipbob.com/futurecommerce to get started with $500 in free shipping credits. That's shipbob.com/futurecommerce and get started today. It's time once again for me to tell you about our newest partner, Blue Shift. Channel centric, siloed, batch and blast, one size fits all. These are the words no marketer likes to use and no campaign that your customers want to be a part of. So why do these campaigns still happen? Why? Well, disconnected data and disjointed technology. Blue Shift's Smart Hub CDP connects data and creates personalized omni-channel experiences for leading brands like James Allen and CarParts.com. Blue Shift provides catalogs for AI-driven product recommendations, advanced predictive segmentation capabilities, and creates custom audiences for your first-party data to leverage across almost any media platform so that you, the marketer, can make batch and blast a thing of the past. Learn more at blueshift.com/futurecommerce and get your copy of the Smart Guide to Product Recommendations for e-commerce and retail for free. That's right. Go to blueshift.com/futurecommerce. How did that 3.0 set you up for category innovation? Because you were a single form factor for the longest time and known as one thing. And now Nuun can be known as a brand. I mean, not that you weren't a brand before, but a brand, a family of products that address all kinds of modalities of the same idea. It's powder is much more desirable in some cases. Tablets are very desirable in a lot of others. Like watching you expand the category has really been a fascinating journey. Did 3.0 set that up, or how does that come about?
3.0 definitely set it up. Big props to not just the team on development, but also then the marketing team. The marketing team basically did a whole package restage to set up a functional hydration system. And that's where we completely changed the whole category. So people were doing powders and different things, right? But we came in and said, listen, the platform is Nuun Hydration, right? It's about optimal hydration and unlock your body's best. That's ultimately what we're trying to deliver. And what we needed to do was set up saying, listen, it comes back to the problem we're trying to solve. And this is where marketing, the team created this packaging architecture that speaks to the need states that allows you to try many different products to help you. If I back up, here's the problem that they wanted to solve, right? So the problem was this: 75% of the population is chronically dehydrated. And the thing is, we all know we should drink more water. We all know it. Every one of us knows it. It's like universal. Yeah, I should drink more water. And then you're almost hard on yourself. And there's three reasons, at least the way I distill it down, of why people don't do it. One, we hear from consumers, water is boring, right? I don't want to drink water. It's boring. Even more among women than men, by the way. And then two, on this one was, I call it a little bit of share of stomach. Again, probably more from insights from women, but it's I'm full. I don't really want water right now. So then you avoid it. Right. So the idea here is the first one, water is boring. Let's make it interesting. An effervescent tablet. Let's make it taste good. Two, in terms of share of stomach, let's make it count. Right. This is where it leads to this functional need states that goes across energy, immunity, our vitamins product, our rest product, and of course our sport electrolyte product, high electrolyte product. And then three, I forget to hydrate. So I think we're partially solving this one. That's the portability where we have 10 tablets in a tube. You can take it with you wherever you go. So it's always with you, whether in the home or on the go. And so the format is really, really clever. And that's what we're trying to solve. So then this packaging architecture was there. Then I give big props to what's happening with our sales team and honestly our retail partners. So if you go into whether it's a Fleet Feet, an REI, or call it a Target, right? The communication of Nuun in store, not just on packaging, but the system that we're creating for on-shelf merchandising is getting better and better because we're in sync. The sales team and their category management approach with retailers is in sync and helping the consumer understand, oh, okay, so I just need to drink more water. That's what we're trying to do. And if I use a Bill Gates, right, he wanted a PC on every desk was his dream, thinking another Seattleite, I guess. Can we have a Nuun in every water or a Nuun in every other water? The point is, let's just get you to drink more water. And that's kind of where we're going. Again, let's make it something you want to do versus you have to do. Let's make it count. And let's remove the friction points. That's where, by the way, connected fitness, connected health to me feels like the future on that third one. That I think we could figure that out. I don't have an answer here today, but that's what I'm thinking about. Does that answer it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I think what I also hear you saying is that innovation inspires new channels as well, because not only are you sort of meeting the customer where they're at and finding ways to sort of overcome the challenges of the chronically dehydrated, and overcoming like share of stomach and and the sort of like, why don't I drink more guilt that's on all of us. But you're doing it, and so like when you went from 1.0 to 2.0, it was like, okay, now we can be in a new set of stores that we could have never been in before. Now we can address a new community that we could have never addressed before.
True.
And so innovation, it's not just better for your existing customer base; it unlocks entirely new sets of customers if you're doing it right. Which is what I think you did. Let's tie this back to the recent acquisition, because I feel like Nestle, Philip mentioned, Nestle's got a long, incredible history in this space, and in the Garden of Life is a really great example of that. As you look to Nestle and the acquisition, where do you sort of expect to see things accelerated by being a part of a multinational corporation like Nestle?
I believe where we're going to accelerate really quickly is, and this may surprise some folks, but I think the one place where Nestle is really, they've really bought into our Live Clean philosophy. Like it's really worth noting that they've bought into that. Everything around sustainability, like ESG initiatives. I believe that they are going to help us accelerate on that platform really quickly. Which the reason why I say that surprises people is that doesn't really speak to many folks may not think of that as accelerating growth on revenue. It actually will, because I think it's gonna further retain people because they're gonna see the difference we want to make in the world. So think about this. Like I'm just gonna use this as an example. And by the way, I have not had this conversation into any depth with Nestle because it's just brand new. So we're not at that stage yet to have that. But I could see this happening. Is going, do you have any learning, which I know they do, and maybe some resources internally where you've been discovering a different container for the tablets, right? So can we evolve from the existing tube that we use today to be even more sustainable, less, basically, can we remove plastic entirely, or what would that look like?
Yeah.
And then, what can we do within our system? So I think sustainability is one of them. Two, I think global expansion, that one I know for sure, right? So if this is our mission around Live Clean, clean product, clean planet, clean sport, and it's working in the US and Canada, we are in different countries around the world, but our focus is those two. And Nestle can allow us to take that mission and empower the world to move more, like truly move this around the world. That will happen quickly. I think those are two like out of the gates scenarios. The other thing that's really fascinating to me, and so Philip, you talked about this one. So the other companies that they've acquired within Nestlé Health Sciences, we have a lot of shared values. Garden of Life, Vital Proteins, Persona is another personalized nutrition company. Here in Seattle, and so there's a lot of shared learning that we can do to help each other and learn from each other. I guess in some ways we probably compete with each other on the fringes. So that that will happen as well. But in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of overlap. We have pretty distinct brand positioning. So I'm really excited about that as well. I think there's a little bit of like, I don't know what I don't know, but I think we can share a lot, and they can as well, and it can accelerate. Those are the two areas, though. I think change will happen really fast on those two. But there's a lot more too, if that makes any sense, which I can give you my thoughts there.
Is it sort of naive to think that they could help you from like a distribution perspective? It seems like at the scale that Nuun has been over the last 2 or 3 years anyway, you've got distribution pretty well solved, at least in North America. Is there a benefit to global distribution that they bring from like a scale perspective, or correct me if I'm wrong?
Well, I think you're right. So I think there's 3 things that I think about when I think about the power of working with Nestlé Health Sciences. One, I think the existing retailers, especially the larger retailers where they have some deep relationships, we can work on visioning together at a whole different level that, our brand just isn't big enough in the world of some of these retailers. Use Target as an example. So I think we can really get to a higher level conversation of what are we trying to create beyond like, let's add another SKU and how do we optimize this one? Can we add another flavor? No, but let's step back for a second. Like, what's the change we want to make and how do you want to evolve this category? I think Nestlé Health Sciences will will give us the permission to have that conversation where we've had them sparingly. So I think this will help a ton. I think online, they're really focused on a digital center of excellence. So I think we can bring a lot to the table on this one. Our team has, I think, got exceptional capabilities, and I think we can share that. But I also think we can learn a lot from their very progressive digital center of excellence group. And then 3 is global expansion. Without question, they're based out of Switzerland, first of all. So, I'm assuming they I actually don't know this, but I'm assuming they over-index in the EU alone. Granted, I believe Nestle, the parent company, is the largest food CPG company on the planet. So yeah, I think we'll have quick access to understanding how do we launch and scale this globally. There's no question. So those are the three things, I think.
Speaking of number 2, digital excellence, I think you've got an incredible team, given that Ingrid Cordy is a big part of that. And so shout out to Ingrid. Thank you so much for getting us connected with Kevin.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I have enough kind words in my vocabulary to describe Ingrid. What an addition to our team. She just made such big impact from capabilities and competencies, but just her overall energy. Gosh, I'm so grateful that Ingrid's on our team and is a key leader for sure. She's so good.
We agree.
We couldn't heap enough love on her. She's helped us, really just the last couple of years, just coming alongside the show and helping give us a new perspective. I wanted to ask Kevin. There's a whole series of questions I think that we could probably raise around. You've effectively created this category. Nuun is the OG. You've created the category in hydration, and now we're seeing, I think what would be a really charitable way of saying it is like there's a lot of validation of the category you've created recently. A lot of venture money heading into the space. There's a lot of copycat brands, if I could be not charitable. There's some that certainly have some scale and have copied the go-to-market. I think they, definitely going after the CrossFitter type crowd. And then all it takes is like cruising through Instacart for a little bit to find, 7 or 8 different folks, new brands, challenger brands that are, have even sort of copied the form factor and the packaging. How do you, certainly I think you could probably take the victory lap that, an exit also solidifies the category, and an exit that I think is undisclosed at the scale at this point, but, the biggest name in the category maker just made an exit to a big CPG. I think others are going to look at that as massive validation and probably bring a lot more capital to this category. What do you think about all that? And does that sort of validate why you need to exist and that the pie is getting bigger for everybody, so there's plenty of room? Or do you think that consumers are now going to have trouble differentiating from all the different players and all of their different various ethos and ideologies around why they should exist?
Yeah, such a great question. So I guess it may be flattering to your point, putting a positive when a lot of new competitors come in. And there is a lot of competitors. There's been a lot over the last couple years coming into the space. Mm-hmm. And here's what I would say is, over the years, we've actually seen there's competitors that come in and then they leave, and then they come in and then very few stick over time. And I say that because you see this across all categories, right? So there is something about a first mover advantage, and I think we have just that, right? So we are a category leader in the sports specialty stores. So your REIs, your run shops and bike shops, right? We're a category leader within the natural channels, so Whole Foods, Sprouts, and those other really incredible natural retailers. And then when the conventional space, we're kind of surging in that space. So I think that's a really exciting spot where I think we're starting to establish ourselves as a leader there as well. And then of course digital, and we're kind of at the front of the pack of that group as well. So we've got the presence. No question, never underestimate anyone, right? So we wouldn't do that. I by the way, I have this philosophy of I tend to think of our team as a sports team, and so we're in our arena is the functional hydration space, and so we're always looking to compete. Yet we need to put our game plan together and just stay focused and keep pressing. We're not ignoring. We're watching. We're learning. We're observing, and we're adjusting. But keep focusing on our plan. And I think the good news is, for those that are trying to mimic what we're doing, it's probably worth noting, we're already working on 4.0, and we've got many other innovations in the pipeline. So where the competitors are focusing where we are today, we're actually looking downstream of where we're going next and how do we do that. So in short on that one, I guess I would say this is, yes, there's competitors and some have stuck, and a few will stick, but most won't. That's just business. They just won't. It won't be sustainable. So focus on what we're doing, and then this big leap forward with Nestlé Health Sciences, it's going to allow us to accelerate, like truly. Mm-hmm. So validation for sure with the category. For us as first mover advantage in many cases, this is just going to allow us to accelerate, and that's. I guess I'm not, as you can sense, I'm not really concerned. I'm observing. Here's something worth noting that I keep thinking about is there's functional hydration and validating this category where there's a lot of competitors. Think about this though, is what are we consuming to hydrate? And beverages is just so big. And if you think about if you can picture the physical store as opposed to e-commerce for a moment, which e-commerce probably has it more right, quite honestly. So in the physical store, there's so much space allocated to beverages, a lot of space, and rightfully so, because it turns a lot of volume. That being said, as this continues to get traction, you're going to continue to see this expand. I believe this. I believe that this category is so big, which is why I'm less worried about competitors coming in at this moment, because I think it's going to continue to expand, that hydration, functional hydration, because it's a universal need, is bigger than the plant-based revolution that's happening within food. I truly believe that. I think what's happening is we will disrupt this overall beverages that people didn't think was possible. And it won't just be Nuun, it will be many brands. That's happening. It's just a better way. Again, I'm not suggesting it's going away, just like the plant-based revolution didn't eradicate dairy, it didn't eradicate meat, but it definitely is shifting, right? And think about one last thing is think about plant-based milk alternatives, where it started. It was soy milk in a Tetra Pak in the center of a store, and e-commerce wasn't even really a factor then. Today, it's sold and surging within e-commerce, but also now positioned in the dairy case right beside the milk alternatives. And it just continues to surge. And so what I foresee happening is it's going to be looked at less as functional hydration as this is an alternative. It's going to be toe to toe, side by side with the way people look at beverages now versus I have my beverages and then there's this functional hydration. I should do that sometimes. It's going to be basically a substitute, much like I think you're seeing in dairy alternatives and dairy itself.
Wow. I know we're coming up on time here. Just a couple quick hits here before you take off, Kevin. But looking ahead to the next 18 months, what's one big challenge you're going to have to overcome, and what's one of your most interesting opportunities?
I would say, by the way, the one big challenge we need to overcome right now at this moment, I believe, is how do we keep the stoke and drive the stoke in our culture. Here's the thing. So if I could quote one of my favorite business consultants out there, and he's the Red Bull of business consultants, Tom Peters. I think Tom Peters might be 78 now with the energy of a 28-year-old. And so he said this: we're in the business of serving people. People serving people, serving people. I use this all the time. And I have to give credit where credit's due, so I don't want to plagiarize, but I love that comment. And here's the thing. The pandemic, to me, has really made it challenging to have a deep connection as a team. And I'm now that I'm through this with the team through this process, coming out the other side of it, and now joining forces with Nestlé Health Sciences. Now my energy's come right back where my passion is about team culture, and I honestly think that's like the biggest challenge. And it's not like we've deviated. I just think it was the most powerful, sustainable competitive advantage that we have. And I'm like, I want to inject that, bring that back, bring that fire to a whole different level. So that's honestly, I think it's the biggest opportunity and challenge. And the pandemic is definitely a factor on that one. I think the opportunity, by the way, here is this. So we've launched energy. We've got different innovations. I think the biggest opportunity is how do we really grow our awareness to a whole different level and get that to stick? If we can grow our awareness both around the brand and the category and help people understand it, that's where I talk about that transition that happened within dairy alternatives for the category. This is where I think we'll change beverages. It is the biggest opportunity in front of us because the education and awareness is still, relatively low. Growing, validated, yes. Now it's time to accelerate that. And I think we need to be the catalyst for that.
That's awesome.
Shoot. Man, Kevin, we're going to have you back sometime because that went way too quick.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing. What a pleasure to have you on. And thank you for opening up on the show. And congratulations on all your success.
Oh, gosh. Thanks for having me on the show. I love listening to your podcasts. My team knows I'm addicted to podcasts. Ingrid introduced me to you, and I started listening, and I just get a lot of nuggets and insights, and I really appreciate both of you and your teams. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. And thank you for listening to Future Commerce. Hey, you can find other episodes of this podcast at futurecommerce.fm. And check out our newest report, which just dropped by the time you're listening to this. It's called Service is the New Storefront. And we believe that you can create new, meaningful friction, good friction with your customer and engender a lifelong relationship with them by driving them to CX. You can find more out about that at futurecommerce.fm/service is the new storefront. Thank you for listening to Future Commerce, and we'll see you next time.